In this video, you're going to see how Israel Adesanya and Joe Pyfer compare across all 16 skills of the Fighter Index. First, we'll look at their strengths and vulnerabilities, then break down the tail of the tape, score across all 4 pillars of the Fighter Index, and determine which fighter is actually more complete right now. When every phase of the fight is measured, this matchup starts to look very different from what the highlight reels might suggest. Israel Adesanya fights with precision, patience, and elite distance management. His striking is built around timing and control rather than reckless volume. Adesanya uses feints, stance switches, and layered setups to force opponents into mistakes before punishing them with counters. What separates Adesanya from most strikers is his ability to dictate range. He constantly adjusts footwork and angles, keeping opponents at the end of his weapons while minimizing risk. Add in his championship level experience and Adesanya becomes incredibly difficult to solve over the course of a fight. Adesanya's style is built around control and patience, which can sometimes limit his offensive output. Against opponents who apply relentless forward pressure or strong wrestling threats, Adesanya has occasionally been forced to more defensive stretches while rounds become closer than expected. While his takedown defense has improved over time, grapplers who successfully close the distance can slow his rhythm and reduce his striking effectiveness. Because of so much Adesanya's success comes from controlling range, he can become more difficult when opponents consistently collapse that distance. Joe Pyfer fights with aggression and fight-ending power. His striking is built around heavy hands and forward pressure, constantly forcing opponents into exchanges where his power becomes a factor. Pyfer doesn't just rely on striking either. He's also shown a willingness to mix in grappling and submissions, giving him multiple ways to finish fights. What makes Pyfer dangerous is how quickly momentum can shift when he's involved. One clean connection or dominant grappling exchange can end the fight immediately. Pyfer's aggressive style can sometimes lead to overcommitment in striking exchanges. Because he pushes forward looking for damage, opponents with strong footwork and counter-striking can create openings against him. His game is also still developing against elite competition, and prolonged technical fights that require patience and strategic adjustments can slow his momentum. Against disciplined opponents who manage distance well, like Adesanya does, Pyfer may be forced to chase the fight to initiate exchanges rather than dictate them on his terms. Now we look at both fighters at the Fighter Index tail of the tape. Israel Adesanya brings the deeper resume with a 24-5 overall record, while Joe Pyfer is 15-3. Inside the UFC, Adesanya holds a 13-5 run against elite competition compared to Pyfer's 6-2 start in the promotion. Physically, Adesanya enjoys a 2-inch height advantage and carries a significant 5-inch reach advantage. Stylistically, Adesanya fights from a switch stance, constantly changing angles, while Pyfer operates from a traditional orthodox stance. This sets up the classic matchup of length and movement against forward pressure and power. Adesanya enters on a 3-fight losing skid, while Joe Pyfer rides a 3-fight winning streak with clear momentum. In knockout victories, Adesanya holds the edge 16-8, showcasing the striking finishes that defined his championship run. In submissions, Pyfer leads 4-0, reflecting his more active grappling threat. Both fighters have 6 first-round finishes, proving each can end the fight early. And in decision wins, Adesanya again leads 8-3, highlighting his deeper experience navigating long, tactical fights. Now it's time to break these fighters down using the Fighter Index scale. We break down each phase of the fight and score each skill to better understand the strengths and the weaknesses of a fighter's game. All Fighter Index scores are based on a scale of 1 to 10. Scores are subjective and can change as a fighter evolves from fight to fight. Here's how it works. There are 4 pillars that represent a skill set, and 4 skills that make up a pillar. Each skill is scored and the number value represents a level, 1 being the worst and 10 being the best. Then, at the end of the video, we take those values and we give each fighter a Fighter Index score based on the scores of the skill within the pillars. In Pillar 1, Fight IQ and Athletic Tools, Israel Adesanya holds a clear advantage. In Fight IQ, Adesanya scores a 9 compared to Joe Pyfer's 6, reflecting Adesanya's years of championship-level experience, tactical adjustments, and ability to manage high-level fights. Athletically, both fighters score well, but Adesanya again leads with a 9 to Pyfer's 8, highlighting his fluid movement, balance, and striking agility. In Stamina, Adesanya scores an 8 while Pyfer sets it a 6, showing Adesanya's proven ability to maintain deep pace into the fights. In Resolve, the gap narrows slightly as Adesanya scores an 8 to Pyfer's 7, as both fighters have shown toughness under pressure. Across decision-making, endurance, and overall composure, this pillar clearly favors Israel Adesanya. Pillar 2, Striking and Stand-Up Defense. In pure striking, Israel Adesanya scores a 9 compared to Joe Pyfer's 8, reflecting Adesanya's elite kickboxing pedigree and precision at range. In the clinch, the edge shifts to Pyfer, who scores a 7, while Adesanya sits at a 6, showing Pyfer's stronger presence in tight exchanges and willingness to create offense there. Defensively on the feet, Adesanya scores a 9 in striking defense compared to Pyfer's 5, highlighting Adesanya's ability to manage distance, avoid damage, and control engagements with footwork and head movement. In durability, both fighters are even, each scoring a 7 in chin, showing they can hold up under pressure when exchanges get heavy. With advantages in striking and a major edge in defensive awareness, this pillar favors Israel Adesanya. In Pillar 3, Grappling Control, the matchup is relatively close. In wrestling, both fighters score a 6, showing functional ability to compete in grappling exchanges without either holding a dominant advantage. The separation begins in takedown offense, where Pyfer scores a 6 compared to Adesanya's 5, reflecting Pyfer's slightly greater willingness and ability to initiate grappling attempts. In top control, Pyfer again scores a 6 while Adesanya sits at a 5, indicating a bit more reliability in maintaining position once the fight hits the mat. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, both fighters score a 6, showing solid submission and awareness and defensive competence without either presenting overwhelming submission danger. With the slight advantages in takedown offense and top control, this pillar narrowly favors Joe Pyfer. In Pillar 4, Defense, Scrambles, and Ground Survival, Israel Adesanya holds the advantage through stronger defensive reliability. In takedown defense, Adesanya scores an 8 compared to Joe Pyfer's 6, reflecting his proven ability to stay upright against grappling attempts and reset fights back to striking range. In BJJ defense, Adesanya again leads with a 7 to Pyfer's 6, showing slightly better composure and awareness when dealing with submission threats. Off the bat, both fighters score a 5, indicating that neither relies heavily on guard offense as a primary weapon. The final separation comes in Scrambles, where Adesanya scores a 7 compared to Pyfer's 6, highlighting his ability to create space and recover position during transitions. With advantages across multiple defensive layers, this pillar favors Israel Adesanya. Now we look at each fighter's path to victory based on what we learned from the 4 pillars. Israel Adesanya wins his fight by turning it into a distance battle. His clearest path is movement, range control, and forcing Joe Pyfer to chase. If Adesanya manages the lead hand, punishes entries with counters, and keeps the fight at long range, his striking precision and experience will take over. Just as important, he needs to avoid prolonged grappling exchanges where Pyfer's strength and submission threat could become dangerous. If Adesanya keeps the fight technical, controls the pace, and forces Pyfer into extended striking rounds, this matchup starts to tilt in his favor. Over time, his accuracy, patience, and ability to read reactions can create the kind of openings that slowly break Pyfer down. Joe Pyfer wins this fight by turning it into a pressure fight and refusing to let Israel Adesanya settle into a long-range rhythm. His clearest path is closing distance early, cutting off the cage, and forcing Adesanya into exchanges where his power becomes a factor. Mixing in takedown attempts and clinch pressure can also disrupt Adesanya's movement and create grappling opportunities where Pyfer's strength and submission threat come into play. If Pyfer keeps the fight aggressive, shortens the distance, and forces physical exchanges instead of turning it into a technical kickboxing match, he gives himself the best chance to land the kind of fight-changing power that can shift momentum instantly. When the numbers are finalized, Israel Adesanya posts a 7.9 fighter index score, compared to 7.3 for Joe Pyfer. That gap reflects Adesanya's deeper experience, striking precision, and proven ability to control fights across multiple phases. Pyfer's power and grappling threat keep the matchup dangerous, but the fighter index suggests that Adesanya holds the more complete skill set overall. On paper, the numbers lead Adesanya, though Pyfer's finishing ability means the margin is far from comfortable. If you have different scores for a fighter, put them in the comments and defend your position. Thanks for watching. You can learn more about your favorite fighters or check out other fight breakdowns by clicking either of these videos.